Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to HMP Dialogue. Today we are going to be talking about healthcare content in 2024 trends to track with Dr. Lakshmi Vaswani. As we know, she is a medical communications consultant, healthcare content writer, which is a great thing, ma'am, and also a founder of HealthVerse. So, welcome, ma'am. We are not
Thank
just typing in search bars, we are conversing with AI. We are not just on Google, we are across socials, chatting with bots and following influencers. We are not just crafting content. AI is doing it for us, right? But even with all these changes, one thing remains constant. Our patients and audience still have their needs, questions, and problems. And in healthcare, the stakes are higher. So, how do we ensure the right information finds the right audience on the right platform? So, today we have with us Dr. Lakshmi Vaswani to provide more information on this. So, over to you, ma'am. Welcome.
Hi, Krisha. Thank you so much for having me again. Thank you to AHMP Foundation for always supporting us and for helping spread the message about healthcare marketing and spreading this kind of information with our community. It's always welcome to learn something new and to have the opportunity to present something that we learn, in our day-to-day lives while we're practicing our professions. So this time since it's the beginning of the year, there are a lot of people who are coming out with, of course, trends and predictions that we need to be aware of if we are writing content for healthcare businesses, whether we're doing B2B or B2C. There are a few things that have come up in the last few months, especially something that happened even as far as 2 days ago that is going to shake up how we create content now in this year. So I'm going to jump right in. Some may be a continuation of some of the trends that we saw last year, but I guarantee you the last trend is going to be something that we all need to be a little bit more mindful of. I know that I had to stay up and redo my presentation because of what happened on Tuesday. So I'll get to that in trend 7. But first, we'll go through trend 1, right? So what has changed considerably over the years and is because I guess we have so much social media where we can customize our feed. We have control over what we can see and what we want to see. We have online shopping, so we have control over the type of, there's so much control that we have over our feeds. So we expect customization. We expect everything to be tailored to our needs. So it has to be made simpler for our consumers. So think of it, if you are a healthcare brand and if you're creating content, it can't be generic content. It can't be content that is applicable for somebody from the age of 15 to the age of 55. All of them have different health problems. They all have different concerns. There are different stages in their lives. So when you are filling up your website with content, make sure that you have segregated your content so that it's applicable to different audiences. So what does that mean? Your market segmentation and your target audience segmentation has to be on point. You have to be able to categorize your audience into different sets, and then accordingly you have to then create content for their pain points. We also need to understand what kind of formats they like. So there's a preference for short form videos. We all have very small attention spans right now. If you're all flipping through reels and YouTube shorts, then maybe sitting through an hour long YouTube video is not the right thing for some topics, right? So we need simple infographics, something that's shareable, something that we can think about, maybe tips for a woman in menopause. Her, if she goes, if that age group is usually using Facebook or WhatsApp, so that infographic may be better not as a blog, but a short picture that you can send, that they can send to their friends over WhatsApp quite easily, and that's how you spread that information. So the tip over here is we have to be careful, because while it's really nice to keep things simple and keep things in simple language, we need to make sure that we don't dilute the medical information, because that has to remain accurate. So in the pursuit of keeping things simple, we should not dilute what is medically accurate or not, right? So even if that means explaining things in deeper ways and explaining things in better ways, making it longer content, you should, because in you should anyway, medical accuracy has to remain at the forefront, right? So what does this mean? How do we then create this content. Instead of just creating very superficial top of the funnel content, think about going very deep into your subject matter. So the way that Google works and the way that search engines work is that they want you to stay and try and get the most that you can from the websites that you visit. But if you are going to not find all the answers on one site, the natural thing is for you to close that site and go to the other one, because you didn't find your answer, even though you found it on the first page of Google. So the idea is that if you're creating long form content, if you're creating a blog, try and include as much information as you can about that blog, about that topic in the blog, so that your reader doesn't have to go through multiple hoops to find the answer that they need, right? So now we have the next trend. The next trend is kind of it, if you have researched on Google recently, you would have seen that it looks a little different. Your search console, right? So what Google has come up with is the Search Generative Experience, or SGE. It's an option that you can choose to turn on or off on your Google settings, but I believe most of us have turned it on. So what happens now is that when we're putting in our questions into Google, has its own AI, and that AI is, instead of making us go through each individual website, it kind of collates the information together so that we have it in this really easy to read format. So we have everything that we want in small bits and pieces. It gives us an overall view of the topic. It has better chances of finding the answers that we want. It gives us key topics, key takeaways, so that we're not reading through long blogs just to find one line that we find useful, right? And it's very useful for getting how-to instructions. And the best part is that all the lines are referenced, right? So if you read a line over here and you want to go more into that blog, you can click and then takes you to the main blog as well. So it's kind of an AI that's summarizing large topics for you. So what does that exactly mean when we're on the creative side of it, right? This is what our readers will see on when they're searching. But when we are looking on the creative side of things, we need to know that Google is looking for the best responses to the searcher's question, right? So we have to make sure that in our blogs, we have a key takeaway sections, we have summaries of what we're talking about, we have brief answers, simple answers, snippets that Google can pick up and put into that search generative experience for their readers, right? It would help, of course, if you linked all your content through internal and external links. So if you've created a bit of content, then make sure that if you have referenced a data point or referenced something, you can link it to your main blog so that it gives your reader more chance to go again, like I said, deeper into the subject, right? And then it also helps if you have infographics, diagrams, videos, multimedia, something that can break up this whole text monotony that you have on your page. It just makes the page skimmable, it makes it easier to read, and it makes it more enjoyable for the person to read it. So then again, the person's experience is better on your site. If the experience is better on your site, they're more likely to stay on your site, right? So now we have trend 3. This is a little bit technical. It may be a little too SEO for some, but if you are a writer and if you are writing for online mediums, basic SEO is, I think, what's expected anyway. So I think earlier on when we were writing, I think assignments were very cut straightforward. We used to be given a list of keywords, and we try to incorporate that as naturally as possible without stuffing keywords into our content, but getting it as natural as possible, because you do want your blog to rank. So you do have to play the SEO game. But what research has shown right now is that people are not just searching for short keywords. It's not just one or two things. Just think about how you also search things on Google. Do you put in one or two words, or are you more likely to ask Google a complete question, like how do I get from here to here, or what are the best restaurants for pav bhaji near me? Like those are the type of questions that we are now searching even in our day-to-day lives. So why not for healthcare content as well? Correct. So, and also what a lot of the SEO companies like SEMrush and HubSpot, they've done, of course, all their research. So if they've seen that, for example, that SEMrush has given an example over here, people who search for a simple thing like tomato plant, it's a 2-word search, right? Lots of people may have searched for tomato plant, and they have, the numbers are many. We all know that a lot of people have searched for it. But when we look at the last question, which is why are tomato plants turning yellow, that's a very specific question that somebody who obviously is very interested in tomato plants is asking, right? So your conversion rate, that means what are the chances of that person who has put in tomato plant looking into your site, what are the chances of them actually a buying a tomato plant from you or reading about your tomato plant on your blog? Probably less, because they have so much, you have so much competition, right? When they put in tomato plant, they have so many websites that are opening for them on the first page of Google. But if you have written content that specifically answers that question, why is your tomato plant turning yellow, even though it's a very specific keyword and a very specific question from a very targeted consumer, the chances of that person reading through your blog and then maybe even buying from you or taking up your service is much more, because that is your target consumer delivered on a platter to you, correct? But for that to happen, you need to be able to have that content on your site. So data shows that keywords with more than 6 words, they do convert 50% better than those with only 3 to 5 words, and nearly 200% better than keywords with just 1 or 2 words, right? So what we know from this is that Google is looking for the best possible answer to your search queries. So they're looking even everywhere. They're not just looking at the blogs. They're looking at a comment on your blog. They're looking at snippets, a quote from an article, a post on Quora or Reddit. So this is a sign for you to kind of look at the real estate you occupy. Meaning, where are you creating content? Which platforms have you used? Which platforms have you ignored or maybe looked over? So make sure that you are everywhere, because you don't know, your target audience is going all over the place. Google is going all over the place. Why? In search of a perfect answer. So while it, don't strain on your resources, but if you can cover as many platforms as possible with a lot of automation tools that we have available nowadays, it would serve you well now. This is another more healthcare focused example on how long tail and short tail keywords kind of make a difference. So, supposing somebody is searching for allergy treatments, right? So, now we have changing weather, weather's turning hot, and maybe you are allergic to dust, fuel, whatever we are, air quality index is not good. So, allergy treatments, can you imagine how many people have Googled allergy treatments, all over the country? But supposing I'm very particular with the allergy treatment that I want. I say that I want a non-drowsy, natural allergy relief, and I'm a pet owner, right? So these are it's such a very specific target audience, and there I see that the chances of that person actually reading through my blog, if I have given this kind of detailed information, is much higher than if they had just put in allergy treatments. And your audience is also becoming very smart, right? They know that the longer they make their keywords, the more specific the results they're going to get. So they don't have to read through all those blogs before they get that one snippet that they want. So I think the tip over here is to focus on quality traffic, not just quantity. Don't just look at the number of people who are visiting your site, look at the number of people who are leaving your site. The bounce rate is really important over here, because obviously if your bounce rate is very high, they're not getting the information that they want on your website, they're not getting the information they want on your blog, and they're leaving it to go to someplace else. So then that may be a sign for you to look at the content that you have and really analyze, have you covered all the topics that there is to cover? Is there something else that people are searching for on Google that you should be including in your content right now, right? So now our next topic is the next trend that we have is eat. Now eat is, of course, has been on Google's mind for a very long time. It's nothing new, but it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's become even more important this year. Why? Because medical misinformation is a problem. We have a lot of sites and a lot of blogs out there that for which the information has not been credited or it's not been referenced right. So it's very easy for patients or consumers to be led astray and to misunderstand what's been given to them. So when we have EAT, we also look at expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. What does this mean? Here, we need to make Google understand that the blog that you've written or the content that's on your site has been created by a specialist in this field, or at least created or written by somebody who knows what they're talking about, right? So you need to help Google understand who your authors are. Now, this earlier was quite a nice to have, but now you need to have it, right? Because a lot of the blogs that I write for have now given specific author pages. So when you create an author page for your blog, you give credibility to your blog. That author page eventually gives a little write up about the writer and also links to their LinkedIn profile or to their website, right? And also to their other articles and publications, so that Google knows that this person is an expert in their field and therefore is the right person to be talking about that particular topic, right? It's also good to have a mix of authors on your company page. Supposing you are a digital health tech company and you have blogs that have been written by a founder or maybe by a tech expert, but having the same expert or having the same people in your company write blogs again and again and again is also not great, because Google wants to know that you have a bunch of experts who are weighing in on things, because not everyone knows everything about everything, right? So you need to make sure that you've shown Google that you are open to having other subject matter experts come in and weigh in and given their suggestions on your blog. It makes you look like a more well-rounded source of information, right? And of course, when you have multiple authors, you need to have multiple author pages as well, right? So now the fifth trend that we have is that search will become more conversational. So what this means is voice search optimization. If you see, all of us have the option to speak into our phones and Google will search whatever it is we talk for. And it's basically text to speech. It will search and it'll give us our results. It started with Google Home with Alexa, right? If you have a Bluetooth speaker like that, a smart speaker at home, you may be using it for your normal place an order on Amazon, order pizza for me, all the normal ads that you see on TV, you can use it for that. But with healthcare, imagine a scenario where you're hurt, right? And you need help. So imagine a situation where you can say, hey, Google, call an ambulance for me. Or hey, Google, I just cut my finger on a knife. What do I do now? Right? So these are very specific questions where you may really need to use voice search to deal with the situation you're in at that point of time. So voice searches, if you think about it, are phrased as questions. They're not phrased as keywords. So does it then make sense for you to have a very weird keyword like, um, you know, say, bandage, betadine, gauze in that weird combination, where that's actually not what I'm going to be doing if I'm asking Google to search something for me. I'm going to be asking them, what do I do if my finger is cut? That's a very specific question. And if you have that answer on your website, if you have phrased your content in that way, in a very natural, conversational way, then it's more likely that Google will put your website above, because you've actually given the users what they need, the information that they need at that point, they've actually given it to them. So we've seen that 50% of users use voice search to research products, 40% of adults use voice search at least once a day, right? And 16 to 24-year-olds use voice search on mobile, right? So because voice searches are often conducted on mobile devices, we need to make sure also that your website is mobile friendly, right? Because if it doesn't open on a mobile and the person is searching for it on a mobile, it's a mismatch, correct? We also need to avoid complex language or very difficult language, because that's not the way people normally speak, right? If you want to know more about voice search optimization, please reach out to AHMP India Foundation. We have our Ascent newsletter. It's packed full of really useful information, and there is a detailed article on voice search optimization in our previous edition. So make sure that you go to the LinkedIn page, reach out to us, and we can send across our last month's newsletter. I'm sure you'll enjoy all the articles that we have there as well, right? So now we have trend 6. This is user generated content. This may upset some people, but if you've seen a lot of the ads that we have now, whether you've seen it in newspapers or you've seen it on social media, we have very prominent Bollywood celebrities endorsing a lot of healthcare products, websites, platforms, and it's just another product for them, correct? So whether it's a 5 star, or we go to a chocolate or a medicine or even a surgery, apparently Ritik Roshan is the best person to kind of tell us what that looks like, right? Is it really believable though? Like, do we actually, as consumers, believe that a person like Bowman Irani has availed of this service, or is endorsing the service? We all know at some point of time that it doesn't seem real, correct? So, and that's not just us. If we see data, we see that 70% of people trust images taken for people like them over brand created images. And 61% of people would be more likely to engage with an ad if it contains user generated content, right? So I think what's happening over here is that even though we have now doctor influencers, why have doctor influencers risen so much in the last few years? Is because they're real people, right? And why have patients like the normal lifestyle influencers? Why are they on social media endorsing anything from an acne product to tooth correction, like a dental product, right? These are all healthcare wellness brands, but we have not chosen to get it done through a Bollywood celebrity. We have chosen to advertise through this very nice category called influencers, and after that, from there stems user generated content, right? Because at the end of the day, why are we overlooking our faithful customers? These are people who have tried our services, and if they're happy with our services, they're more than happy to share their stories. The only thing is that we need to ask them at the right time and on the right platform.
Right.
So, if your audience is not just passively scrolling, they're creating, they're posting, they're engaging, and they're influencing each other, right? So they're already influencing communities, and with that, they're going to be influencing your next customer or your next patient. So there are campaigns, there are brands that have really gone into user generated content. So what exactly is user generated content? Is exactly what it says. It's any post, any photo, any video, even a video testimonial, anything that has been created from somebody who has used your product or service and is genuinely posting about it, correct? So it can go from video testimonials, photo and story sharing. You can have patient writing blogs or vlogs. You can have Q&A sessions where you host Q&A sessions with doctors or with brand owners and from consumers or patients, right? You have hashtag campaigns like the one over here. It's been given by Nivea. They have a I Care For You campaign where they care for their skin, but they also care for somebody important in their lives. They get to talk about themselves, right? You have a topic about ADHD medication, memes that they can post. So it makes things more interesting for the person who's actually looking at it. There was a very interesting post here from Penn State. Penn State is one of the largest healthcare centers in the United States. They had a patient who actually showed their day-to-day struggles with breast cancer, and she showed her behind the scenes, how her treatments, did she go into different chemo rooms, what was her experience after that. And Penn State actually retweeted her post, and it got millions of views, right? So it's obvious that um, the users or our consumers or our customers, whatever you want to call them, they are capable of influencing each other, right? So this is more real, it seems more authentic, and this is something that search engines and others are also willing to reward you if you do involve yourself in campaigns like this, right?
Right. Agreed.
So now we have a little bit of a contentious one. This is AI. It's everyone's favorite topic. I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory. When we have AI, when AI first came about, all of us were naturally infatuated with it. And, it's a way to get things done faster, easier. It seemed great. We've always maintained a very balanced viewpoint on AI, simply because a lot of people were concerned, and rightfully so, that if this technology is capable of doing everything for us, what do we do, right? What gets left for us, right? So now, is it time that we say bye to AI? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. Because when we look at what we've done over the past 2 years, ever since ChatGPT came out, did AI make content creation easier and faster? Yes. But as a result, if you look at the kind of content that we have available right now online, most of it is really poorly written rubbish, right? So, and Google's realized that as well, because we have to go through so much to find the information that we want that's actually useful to us. Why did this happen? Because, like any other tool, AI can be used well, but it can also be abused, right? Because it's a tool at the end of the day. It just depends on whose hands it went to. Now, there were people who were using AI to scale up their content drastically. They could write 200-word articles in 5 minutes. They could write 1,000-word articles in 10 minutes and completely copy paste it and put it on their websites, right? They could even use it to manipulate the algorithm by using SEO tactics, right? So, what happens if we don't follow the rules? Because Google has set rules for us. Google starts fighting back, right? So, it took a really long time for them to understand what was happening, and every few years they do come out with a algorithm update, what they call a core update. So what did Google do as of Tuesday is that they released their March 2024 update, right, where they said that they're going to target a reduction of 40% in unhelpful content. They've come out and said that they are looking at the way sites and content is being ranked on Google, right? So they've said it very clearly that this update will allow them to take action on types of content that have provided little to no value, that have been created at scale, right? Like pages that have pretend to have the answers but fail to deliver helpful content, right? And the most important thing is that they don't care whether this content is produced through AI or human or a combination of both. They're looking at your end product. So, is it here to say that if your content is AI generated, Google's going to be very upset and completely eliminate your website? No, I don't think so. I don't think that what's going to happen, because they don't care how it's been created. They just care about the final product. Is it a useful piece of information, or is it deceiving the reader? Is it wasting the reader's time, right? So they've termed this entire phenomenon as scaled content abuse. When a company or a website developer or a content creator has created many pages to manipulate search rankings, right? To make sure that they have a huge website, lots of words, lots of keywords, to trick the algorithm into putting them on the first page of Google. But actually, when you go into their website, there's nothing much of value in that site. So examples of this can be, creating many pages, stitching or combining content from different web pages without really adding value, just putting a header and not having much sense, just putting a bunch of keywords in there just so that Google picks up on that. These are all really, well, for lack of a better word, very shady ways of getting, on getting on the first page of Google, which finally they've begun to take action against, right? So what does this mean for us? In my opinion, and take it with a pinch of salt that I've had 3 days to formulate this opinion. So again, anything related to AI, I always say the next time I give this talk, my slides may be very different. But in my opinion, as long as your content demonstrates your EAT, which is your expertise, your authoritativeness, your trustworthiness, and it meets the searcher's needs, Google should not penalize AI aided content. Does that mean that you should cut copy paste from ChatGPT? No. You need to supplement it. You need to add your note to it. You need to add your voice to it. You need to add your brand's voice to it. You need to humanize it and personalize it. And a combination of that adds value, Google should not have a problem with it, right? So the tip here is, how do we assess if a piece is valuable? Okay. Is it findable? Can the user actually find the content in those long pages that you've written? Is it readable? Have you put enough of a white space between your content? Have you put headers? Have you put images? Have you tried to break the monotony of this big wall of text that you have? Have you made it understandable? Can the user understand the content? Have you put in too much jargon? Have you made it really simple? Grade 7, grade 8 English is perfect. Generally, we ask for that. Medical content may need a little bit more, right? There's only that many ways you can explain menstruation without saying the word menstruation, which is not a grade 7 word, right? So you have to make allowances for that kind of thing. But is it, on the whole, have you made an effort to explain the topic in a simple way? Is it actionable? Have the tips that you've given, are they just generic, or have you actually told the user what to do? It's very easy to say get up in the morning and get some exercise, but have you actually said put an alarm on at 5 a.m., get some exercise, walk 45 minutes 3 times a week? Those are exact actionable tips that actually will make a difference in that person's life, right? Is it shareable? That goes back to my point of, have you considered your target audience? Have you considered their age group? Would they be able to share a blog? Probably not. But if they got something on WhatsApp, a small picture, an infographic, more likely to share it with their friends and family, right? So I guess the tip here, which is regarding AI, is really how to humanize your content, and that's how you differentiate it from the other nonsense that's out there, correct? So you, again, this is more like a summary of what we spoke about, but you can embed multimedia content. You can, run small surveys or case studies in your organization, and that will be your own data, correct? So imagine you have a company that produces protein powders, right? And you want to create your own data and create a post about it, but you don't really need to go, if you have 40 people in your organization, take a small survey and say which flavor of protein powder did my staff of 40 love, and that you can say that, that's your user generation content very easily, and that's your own personal case study. And did somebody using your own people, did they use the protein powder and then lose weight? Did they gain muscle? How much muscle did they gain? Create a small case study. That's your own content. No AI came up with that, and it's pretty simple to do. So provide detailed guidelines and valuable examples and showcase your brand's voice. Not every brand is the same voice. A women's health, brand that deals with infertility will have a more sophisticated, considering empathetic voice compared to a younger brand of maybe, attracting a Gen Z audience of age 18 to 25. They would have a more natural conversational tone. So understand that it's not the same everywhere, and adapt your tone accordingly. Collaborate with subject matter experts. So if you do have, if you are in the healthcare industry, if you have contacts, or if you don't, reach out on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would love to be quoted in articles. So if you reach out to them and ask them, hey, I'm writing an article on, say, PMS in ages 18 to 25. Can you help me on, some tips? Maybe a gynecologist, a women's health specialist. They're more likely to respond and give you actual experiences from somebody who has seen many women in that situation, and it'll serve you better than just googling the first 5 blogs and taking information from there, right? So have detailed author pages. Again, we're going back to eat, but those are really important points, that I feel will really change the way that we create content this year, especially if Google's paying attention, more attention than they did last year. So with that, I'm ending this conversation. Those were my 7 tips and 7 trends to track. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Over to you, Krisha.
Wow, ma'am, great. It was very informative in one go. Nice. And we have got questions here in the comment section.
Yes, lovely.
So yeah. So somebody asked, how do you see AI transforming patient care in the next decade? Looking at the way healthcare is expanding on digital platforms, and how do you envision AI impacting healthcare costs and accessibility?
Those are a lot of questions. I'll try and attach them maybe one at a time, right? So, patient care in the next decade, we're already seeing it. So, AI is a little controversial as far as content creation is concerned, because, as you can imagine, it's infringing a lot on an individual's creativity. So, putting aside creation, writing, all the artistic fields, if we're talking about pure medicine, it's a great way to automate manual tasks. So, when you're talking about patient care, I was a clinical pathologist for maybe 15 years. So I saw that we could automate the way that we scan slides. AI was already automating, so it would only give the pathologists the abnormal slides, all the normal slides were taken care of. So imagine the number of slides that we could scan per day. So your talking about faster healthcare being delivered to the person. In Bombay right now, and I believe in Hyderabad, we have the first AI enabled preventive health checkup, right? They have a huge they have all the analyzers from Fuji and with Japan, and they've integrated all their systems. You can get a complete health checkup in 2 hours. So people are getting all their health checkups done, corporate health checkups done in 2 hours, right? So how is it transforming patient care? It'll just make things a lot faster. Everything is going to happen a lot quicker. Your diagnostic times are going to happen a lot faster, right? And looking at the way healthcare is expanding on digital platforms, how do you envision AI impacting costs and accessibility? um, I'm not sure it will impact cost, to be honest, because you're trading off time, but you're also buying very sophisticated equipment. Not just any equipment and not just any system can handle the kind of load that an AI platform would need. You would still need to train the AI platform. That is still, considerable expert expense. And accessibility, I would say, yes, it ties on to the faster, right? If we are able to deal with things faster, and we're able to diagnose people faster, more people would have generally more access to healthcare services. We're not just waiting endlessly for our reports. So something like histopath usually takes very long. It takes about 2-3 weeks to get that report. But imagine if we're able to get it in just a couple of days, then more people will be diagnosed faster. So more access to treatment. I
Right.
hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Also, we have another question from Devanshi.
Yeah.
The question is, are jargons useful when we are writing healthcare blogs for SEO?
That's a very great question, actually, very pertinent, and something that I have very strong opinions on. Generally, when I talk to clients, it's always a discussion. I always believe that jargon is inevitable in healthcare, and I said this again and again. Like periods, how many times can you write periods in the same article? How many times can how simple can you actually make a topic without it losing its value? Right? So it has to, at some point of time, have some scientific words in it, and please do your best to explain those scientific words. Put the meanings in brackets, put asterisks, put an explanation. Don't be afraid to go longer, right? Everyone would appreciate being explained a topic. But every time somebody says no, it's simple, it's too simple, it's too, it's not simple enough, it's, at some point we have to understand that medicine is not simple. Like if it was, then anyone could write about it, right? But the idea is that it does require some amount of jargon. I'm not saying, go all out and cut copy paste from a textbook. That, doesn't make sense either. But I believe that there has to be a balance of medically relevant words and the explanation. I hope that answers Devanshi's question.
Yes, ma'am. Right. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very informative, and this was a great session. And thank you so much for joining us here with your
Thank you.
precious time and so much information. That was amazing. So much knowledge. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krisha. I had a great time. Thank you, HMP, again. And I look forward to the next dialogues. Thank you. Have a great
Sure.
evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.